Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 479. We take a look at Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. Today, Sean had the marble mouth. So says the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin, and the Duke of You-Know.
How's it going, eh?
We were recording, this is actually the second time we recorded the intro, and you're right, Jim, anytime we try to move an intro really quick, we do tend to mess it up a little bit. On this episode, we are going to be talking about Supergirl up to episode 6 of season 2. We're also going to be talking about Legends of Tomorrow up to episode 5 of season 2 of that particular show. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, the League of Comic Book Podcasts, and the InfiniteComics.com podcast partnership. Jim, we are sponsored this episode by DCB Service and, of course, InStockTrades.com. I'm going to be shocked by this, but what is going on at DCBService.com?
Bundles. Come on. I love, if you guys can't tell, I really do love these bundles because it does make my ordering very easy, one-click shopping. 50% off on all these different bundles. We have multiple bundles in supporting of the Rebirth. We have mini-series bundles as well. We've got variant covers bundles as well. The Young Animals bundle, 50% off. Vertigo bundle, 50% off. They keep giving these great deals. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com. This is actually something I missed. They have the deals of the week, where they always do those 50% off ones. They have, of course, the Watchmen Collector's Edition box set. I remember this one was coming out. It's 50% off, only $62.50. This is one this Flash Omnibus by Manipul and Buccellato. And sorry for any name butchery there because I really loved their run. And it's 50% off, only $49.99. I didn't know this was a thing. So that one I'm highly interested in. It's something I missed that I'm going to grab because omnibuses like that, when it's runs I like with creators that I really enjoy, are something I want to jump on. So that's InStockTrades.com. Check them out and check out their deals, not just the deals of the week. They have all the latest releases, top sellers. It's a great site to browse to see what you've missed and to see the deals that you can get trying to catch up on some of your favorite titles. They're always running specials like up to 70% off on a wide variety of books. So check out InStockTrades.com. One more thing about DCBService.com. Remember, they're a digital partner. Whether you do My Digital Comics or Comixology, link those accounts to your DCB Service account, and you earn a percentage of that towards your DCB Service order. Cost you nothing more. Just make sure to click on their portal from their website to do your shopping. What kind of a podcast are we, Mr. Segulin?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot for the Supergirl TV show, as well as the Legends of Tomorrow TV show. So if you haven't watched the shows, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some TV.
There it is, going into that tunnel.
Jim, so we want to continue our chat on the various television shows that have come out right now. So just so we don't spoil anything for anybody, we're going to be talking about Legends of Tomorrow through episode 5, season 2, episode 5, which is called Compromised. We're also going to be talking about Supergirl through episode 6, which is called Changing. So let's start first talking about Legends of Tomorrow. Jim, this is an interesting show for me because I've always enjoyed this show. I think because of the fact that Flash and Green Arrow have had longer seasons and been so established, I've always looked at this as kind of the background show until this season. This season, something has really clicked for me. And don't get me wrong on this one. I'm not saying I didn't like the show or that, there wasn't the quality of the show. I've always loved this show because I'm a time travel junkie. So you give me that. Plus, this cast is phenomenal. But it always felt like a background show. There's something about this season, and I think it's, the mix of the JSA and the fact that we've got multiple villains. We're building this Legion of Doom. And I think, honestly, when you take a team and start adding some new members in and start showing that this team now has some transition and some longevity and things like that, I'm starting to feel the same about this show. And I noticed it in watching, you and I are both kind of in the same boat. We're doing a lot of catch up on reading and programs and things. It was a lot of fun to watch like 3 episodes of this back to back to get caught up and really wrap my head around what this show's doing this season and the sense of scale. This show feels big this season in a way that feels different to me than the first season, which I loved, there's something different this season. I don't know. That's how I'm feeling, though. Where are you at?
We're in a very similar spot. I'm really digging this season, and for me, it's one of the things about this show that's different than the other show. I find I'm yelling at the TV, but everything, I'm yelling at TV because I'm angry at stuff they're doing, but it's not I'm angry at poor writing. I'm loving why they're having characters do different things, why they're having this, why different things are happening. It fits the show. It's a great thing, but it's one of those, I'm getting so connected into it. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Come on, you know better than that. And I'm getting more of a open, kind of feel like I'm interacting more with the cast than I am the other shows. A lot of the other shows I'm watching, I'm loving, I'm laughing, I'm joking at the things, but for some reason, with I think it's a lot of the time travel stuff, because like I'm a time travel junkie, and there's certain things you don't do, and they're doing them. I'm like, oh, come on, did you see Back to the Future? Don't you know you don't do that? Come on, and it just, and also the thing that I'm loving about this season is Sarah. She is outstanding character. Her, she was cool last season. This season, they've kicked it up a notch for her, and I'm like, yes, as I'm watching. Anytime, because before it was just watching her kick some butt was cool. Now the personality that she is, she's got that coolness that Snark had last season. That kind of, that standoffish that Captain Cold had, that kind of groove he had. She's now showing a lot of that groove and a lot of that personality, and I love it. But it's not a evil villain type personality, but it's still that type of that flow.
I can't wait to see Rip Hunter come back, because that's going to happen at some point. And the reason why I can't wait to see that is this team has changed and grown. And we've seen, to your point, I think all of the characters fleshed out more. Sarah growing. Who I think is really shining this show? Ray Palmer. I really adore him as a character. I always liked him on Arrow, but I think what ends up happening is some people are just supporting casts on a program. He was really supporting cast on Arrow. I loved him. I loved what they did with him. I loved his relationship with Felicity. But he was always meant to be the guy that you rooted for Ollie to kind of be a little bit cooler than, if that makes any sense. In this show, they've really given him a chance to be, this is really how you would do Justice League on television, in the sense that you're able to shine a spotlight on every single character. Firestorm's getting that. I love that we've got Heatwave still. I think he's really great on it. Each of these characters, and then two new ones, Citizen Steel and Vixen, I think have been great additions to the show that have in their own ways allowed the others to shine as well. The cast is really cool. And the reason why I mentioned I eventually want to see Rip Hunter back, it doesn't have to be right away, but whenever it happens, I know it's going to happen. That's supposed to happen at a certain point in the show. When a team dynamic has changed this much, then you bring the person who was the leader back, there's always an interesting dynamic there. Because Sarah's clearly become the leader of this group. I like that it was organic. I like that wasn't what was supposed to happen at first. It happened because people naturally deferred to her, and her skill set naturally allowed it. I adore her as a character, loved her on Arrow, and really glad to see her on this show take a spotlight. It's interesting that it's another Canary character, because you and I were big fans of when they did this in the Justice League comic. And I think it works just as well here to see Sarah Lance taking the lead here for the same reasons. And I really feel like I'm getting that vibe again of what I really liked when Black Canary led the Justice League in the comic books. That's really, I think, one of the reasons why this show's again kicking it up a notch. I think the team dynamic is, I love everybody on the team. I really love this team right now.
One of the things I did, and it was difficult, but I stayed away from spoilers. Big time on this. So I didn't know she became the team leader. And now in one of those moments when I'm yelling at the TV when when they're first going with it, I'm like, Stein's a great guy. He's very intelligent, but I'm like, he ain't the leader. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I'm yelling at the TV, Sarah, she's your leader. Come on. And sure enough, along the episode, it happened. And I was like, yeah. And the person though, I agree everything you said about Ray Palmer, and I love the fact that he's lost the armor now, and so now he's going to have to be Ray Palmer. And we're going to see him without his shrink armor, which eventually I want to see him get the Atom armor back because I do like that dynamic, but I want to see how he reacts without it. But the person who, for me, has been one of the MVP was a secondary, okay, he's around character, but now is actually really grown on me, is Jax. I'm really digging him. Yes. I was in, when they first introduced the guy, I was like, I don't know about this. But every episode that's going along, every one that's coming, I was like, man, this kid is doing good. I'm digging where they're going with him. I'm in on the long haul for Jax. I want him to stick around.
The beauty of this team, and I think you kind of alluded to it before, I think the interactivity comes from the fact that you feel like you can hang with this team. You know what I mean? Like I could see myself hanging out with them because of the diverse group. You and I have like this diverse group of friends. I mean, we've always hung out with a very eclectic group of people. And I don't mean that in any way. I mean, I love that about our friendship group. We've always hung out with people that are a mishmash, of just a wide variety of skill sets, a wide variety of belief systems. I think we've connected with a lot of comics, a lot of TV shows and things because of that friendship group. And that's one of the reasons why I think this show is a lot more interactive for me too, especially this season. And I'm glad it's extended. And I think that is, to me, part of the key, too. This season's now, I think, going to 17 episodes when I believe it was originally 12. And I might be off on those numbers, but I do know that this show's doing so well this season that they have extended it. And I'm thrilled by that because I really want more. This really is one of the key shows. I almost hesitate just because it's on Thursday. I always think of it as the fourth show, but it's only because of its placement, not because of the quality. I will say this. I'm going to contradict something I said in the previous episode. I was talking about how it's always Flash and Arrow. I'm going to say with the weekly lineup right now, I'm having a lot of trouble picking which one's my favorite program. And I think it's come from like this binge watching that I've been doing on the episodes. I'm getting the binge watching culture now because that's been a big thing. I've never had like the experience of really doing some solid binge watching on a show, but I've been doing it with a lot of these to get caught up, and man, do I get it now, because all of these shows watch really well in sequences where you're watching like 3 or 4 of them together, and it's like, oh man, this show just is great. The writing's phenomenal and the characters are great. This show separates itself from the others in the team dynamic, but also the makeup of the group. I like that we got, Heatwave, former villain, on the team. I like that we have people that are clearly out of time, like Vixen. I didn't expect them to bring Vixen in this way, where she was a member of the JSA. I had seen, at one of the Comic-Con panels that Vixen was coming in.
Yeah, you just would assume the other Vixen that we've already seen in the universe, but they did that little swerve. And that's something I really dig, that they did do that. And they pulled her in that way.
Yeah, I think so too. What did you think of, and I want to jump back obviously to this team, what did you think of the JSA introduction in this one? Because we got certain characters from the JSA. They made an interesting mix there. Again, we already mentioned that Vixen was a member of that team. What was that like for you? How did you like the team dynamic of that? How did you like their interactions with our heroes?
First off, loved it. Absolutely loved it. The only thing that kind of threw me is why didn't they have Hawkman? I thought that would have been a really cool, have Hawkman on there, and so the legends know Hawkman, but he hasn't met them yet, because this is the Hawkman from back then. I thought that would have been a kind of a neat thing, but they sort of handled that in with with Commander Steel and his grandson, so they kind of handled that a little bit. But I think that would have been a kind of a neat splash to throw in, because when they first introduced the Justice League, I'm sitting there, I'm like, come on, where's Hawk? Where's the Hawk? And I was sitting there rooting for the Hawk. I was waiting to see a shadow fly overhead or something, and it didn't happen. And the funny thing is, it doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it. So I loved the JSA, so I'm not knocking that. That was just something that was in the back of my head. I wish it's that mindset that I have sometimes, where I got something really good, I want more, So I digged that interaction. I digged the introduction, and I like the fact that when they went to the present day, and Vixen ran into the old version, and he was like, you abandoned us. I love the fact that he immediately, that was everyone's thought, that she just disappeared and abandoned the team when they needed her most. I thought that for me was a really cool moment.
Obsidian, and I agree with you, I liked seeing Obsidian in present day. Obsidian is one of my favorite characters. I really have always loved Obsidian because I was a big fan of Infinity Inc. and that whole idea of legacy characters, with him being the son of Alan Scott and things like that. I couldn't agree with you more with the Hawkman comment, but I get what they were doing. They were looking at the team dynamic and saying, we only want to have a certain number of characters on screen. And I get that point. And so I'm very torn on that one. I'm nodding and agreeing with you as you're saying it because, me, I'm a Hawkman junkie.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I was looking at that cast and I'm like, we had Dr. Midnight. We had Hourman. We had Stargirl. We had Obsidian. You start going through that list of characters and I'm like, who, and obviously in Commander Steel, who would you have yanked away from that group? And I think that's what it was. It was a numbers thing. I would have added them in, to your point, for that. My only thing is, though, I think if you wrote them in, do you think the rest of the characters would have been more background characters because of the fact the Hawks were already established to us, and this gave them a chance to shine? What are your thoughts? And I'm just throwing it out there as a question. I don't really have an answer to it. It's more of a discussion point.
Exactly. And that's actually why I'm not upset that we didn't get them. It would have been neat, but if they would have had Hawk, then that would have completely dramatically changed everything. The whole Commander Steel, turning into Citizen Steel, all that, everything that happened with the family legacy there would have been put on a back burner just because it was the Hawks. That's probably why they didn't do it. Now, the one that did throw me for a loop was Stargirl. When I saw her, I thought, now granted, she was cool, so I'm not complaining, but she did throw me for a loop because to me, she was always a legacy. I would have rather have seen the older version, the original version of Starman on that team, and eventually, that gets channeled over to Stargirl. Because that was, again, I'm not complaining about it because she did a great job in the way they used the character. It was neat. I was cheering as was going on, but I gotta admit that did throw me.
What threw you about Stargirl now? I'm sorry.
Just her being there, I think, because you think about that time period. Would they have allowed, a young girl dressed in kind of spandex shorts on the team? And and I'm talking again, not knocking what they did or how they created the character or anything. I'm just saying, if you look at that era in American history, I can I understand Vixen being on the team and them having her, be a part of it, because she is older. But a teenage girl doing that, I would have been surprised that the JSA would have allowed someone that young to be on the team and to be an active member.
Wonder Woman?
Older female. Yeah. Wonder Woman would have worked.
So it's not the outfit you're talking about, the age.
No. It's just the whole package. A young teenage girl like that. I can't see, 1940s America saying, yes, this is okay. Just because, you think back to how we were back then, we weren't, we weren't the most understanding people back then.
It's almost like you're writing an episode I'd love to watch.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why was she? How did she wind up on the team? Obviously, they put her in there because of the fact that it's such a wink and a nod to just a great character from JSA. But she was a modern day character, not a character from the past, to your point. She was never created to be a part of that original team. I'm glad they put her in. I get your point. I don't really have an argument for it. I actually would love to see the episode. Because I think what you just came up with is an interesting premise for a show. Like how she wound up on that team, considering what would be the morals and the dynamic during that time. What happened with that? Did they address that? Is she a legacy character? Because this is this underground team. Here's the great thing about the way they introduced them, with them being this secret agent underground movement, that you can get away with doing things like that, and you can go back as a fan and kind of go, I want to see these stories. I want to hear what happened to that team. That team was interesting enough as a dynamic that I I truly would like to see more from them. That's been the great thing about this show. It's been any of the characters they've encountered along the way, I think, have added something to the show dynamic. I think the villains are phenomenal. What do you think? We haven't talked about it. Eobard Thawne and, of course, Damien Dark are the two characters that we've seen so far of the new Legion of Doom. What do you think of those two characters starting to team up? Two of my favorites from the other shows, really great on this one, I think.
Man, I am absolutely loving the fact that they saved, they wrote him back into the scripts, I'm talking Thrawn as well, Damien Dark as well, because those are two great villain characters. But I love the fact that as soon as they brought back Thrawn, what's he doing? He's messing up stuff. He's going through, he's, using the speedster power. He's time traveling. He's altering the past. He's doing his thing. And I love the fact that, that kind of concept of him tweaking things that we saw in Flash after the end of the Flashpoint universe episode, where he's going to change some stuff. He's going to make things in his image and the way he wants it to go. And I like the fact that that's, still playing out. I really want to see Flash with the Legends, just because they're going to need a speedster to fight him. And I want to see, again, because I love, Flash Universe, I want to see a crossover, Flash Universe and Legends of Tomorrow, just because I think that would be a neat dynamic. You have the team, you have Flash in there, you have everybody else doing their crazy stuff. I think you could have a massive, just a massive crossover, and they're introduced. Obviously, you bring in Ollie, you bring in Arrow Team. Heck, let's do a crossover, bring Supergirl. Let's have a massive Legion of Doom versus this universe's Justice League. I so want to see that. I'm so excited to see that. And I don't know what's going to happen because, as I said, I'm avoiding spoilers, but in the back of my head, I'm seeing the mega fight play out.
I am too. That's the part that I'm avoiding spoilers too. I did watch. I've got the series on iTunes, so I actually end up watching them a day afterwards, at least. Because we've done some catch up. But I get them the same way that I would get DVDs. So the way iTunes works, if you haven't done it, you buy the season on iTunes, and then you get an email saying, hey, your show's available. It's the next morning. And there's no commercials, and I kind of enjoy watching it through that way. But part of the extras they have are panels. They'll have the San Diego Comic-Con panels as the extras. So it's really fun to kind of watch that and see what's upcoming for the seasons. They don't spoil much in those panels, but they give you kind of an overview of where the team's been and where it is now. They introduce you to some of the new actors or actresses that are going to be on the show and where the characters are heading. And I really enjoy that part of it. We've been talking about new characters, Jim. Citizen Steel. What do you think about him? And because we got him as this kind of geeky historian first, and gradually over time we found out that this guy went back into time and his blood won't clot. I mean, talk about a guy diving into danger that shouldn't. I had a student in school that I taught that had this issue. And it was eye-opening for me how serious and how dangerous the issue could be. So I had like a personal connection to that. I really loved that we got to see his origin story play out on screen.
Oh, big time. I was digging Citizen Steel. I think it was funny because, again, not knowing spoilers, not knowing who this guy was, really helped me enjoy that, because as it was playing out, when Ray first gives him the injection, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. They fixed his hemophilia. And I was just thinking, and, granted, because of the whole Commander Steel, I was thinking, could this guy, it did enter my head Citizen Steel, but I wasn't thinking that shot was going to make him Citizen Steel until that first time he armored up. I'm like, Citizen Steel, they're bringing him back. Oh, cool. And again, it was one of those kind of cheering moments where I was, hoorah with the screen. And I like the fact that, I one of the things I always liked about Citizen Steel in the comic was that whole how he had to deal with the fact that he no longer could feel anything. And it was that was very psychologically just, driving on that guy. The fact that he lost, that's one of the most basic senses that we have is that sense of touch. He lost it because of the steel, because of what happened to him. So in the TV show, I was wondering if they were going to do that. So having him be able to revert back and forth to human form kind of it was a neat thing because I was glad that they did it. But on the other hand, I was like, I don't know. Part of me would wonder what it would be like if that would have been a cool story they could have shown on the screen. That could have been a cool story that they dealt with, even if it's just like one episode where he can't turn back, one episode where he's in steel form and can't get out of it for a while. I think that would be a neat story to tell with him.
I knew that he was going to be Steel because of the panel, but also the name. And, which has the history. But to your point, when you talk about his origin, I didn't know where they were going to go with that. So it was cool when you saw that play out. I didn't know, was he going to be Steel all the time? I was thinking, like they might do something like that. I'm very torn on that because I was like nodding as you were saying the pieces that you really liked about that from the comics. But I also liked how they did, he needed to find the emotional piece that would allow him to go into that. It isn't just something, it's not like a light switch. Because a lot of times, you talk about powers and there's a sense of, you just turn it on and off and yay, wow, I got my powers, cool, all that. I like that he had to work at it and get to know how this worked. And I like that Ray got to be a coach and help him through that piece. It was really interesting to see how that all played out because I thought his sequences with Ray in there, especially in that samurai episode, were pretty thrilling.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that we kind of get the origin of Katana with that.
Yes.
With the sword. I thought that episode for me was a wonderful episode. One, it was a cool Citizen Steel. It was great to see Ray just, he had to destroy his armor. He had to destroy the thing that makes him a hero. But in doing that, we're going to get more Ray Palmer. We're going to get the man behind the armor now. And I was so happy how that's playing out. And that's one of the things I'm very excited for. Granted, as I said before, I want him to get the armor back because I like the cool shrinking and all that stuff. But there is something kind of neat about seeing the hero, rise up in the situation, rise up to the occasion. I'm very happy with what they're doing with all the characters across the board. And I think that is, when you've got a large dynamic like this, so many people, you could get someone lost very easily, but they're letting each one of them shine and each one of them rise up to the occasion. And I love the nice balance of a humoristic moment to a very horrific moment, how they did that. Like, Sarah, she has, her run-in with the Queen of France, and everyone makes the jokes about it. And I was laughing along with it. And then a couple episodes later, you get that great just dealing with her anger and her resentment over Damien Dark to the point where she did one of those moments where I'm yelling at the screen saying, Sarah, stop, as she's taunting him and tormenting him, knowing, as she's saying it, I know that's going to motivate him to join Thrawn. I knew that was going to do it. I was like, oh no, come on. Oh, man. And again, I wasn't upset with the fact that they did it because it fit her. It fit her rage. It fit where she was at. It fit how the story's being crafted so well that I'm yelling at the screen because I'm seeing my friend make a mistake and I want to stop her. And I love those moments where you get that flash of humor, seriousness, story development, boom, boom, boom. You get all this great emotional spectrum.
Yeah, that's the piece for me, the emotional spectrum. I totally agree with you. That's a part of this story that I think is pretty critical. We've seen a lot of eras in this. We got the 40s. We wound up seeing Civil War, feudal Japan. We got to see Ronald Reagan in the 80s. I loved Heatwave's comment, I hate the 80s. It was just, you touched on something I thought in the feudal Japan episode that I thought was really great. They could have gotten away without even tying it into Katana or anything like that. I like that they're developing a continuity here for their whole universe. This is a universe these four shows are a part of now. So we're seeing elements where this team has the ability to go back in time and see the formation of certain characters. And that was something that I thought was a nice attention to detail that is doing some fan service on the show in a way that's subtle enough that if you aren't watching the other shows or if this was your first one, you're fine. Great for the fans that caught it. I prefer that it's not heavy in your face like that.
Right.
I liked the way that they did it and that you were getting to know the characters a lot more through the episode. And that was just a nice little at the end. Oh, man, that's how it all ties together. How cool is that? That was really well done. And I think it's another example of great writing.
Oh, big time. I'm very happy with that.
Now, let's talk about Supergirl if we could a little bit, because this has been a great season for this show. Season 2, we haven't really seen it come in as a part of the fold yet, so to speak, as far as the other shows. And I'm glad, because I don't need that right now. I don't know how they're going to link together. It'll be interesting to see when we start to see the crossover, what that's going to look like. But we got to talk Superman, right? Superman's been on the show. Mon-El's been on the show. We've got Guardian on the show now. There's real elements of, we've got Maggie Sawyer. So many elements are coming into this program that are adding other layers of continuity from DC on there. This show is another one where I'm like, man, I can't anymore. I'm being honest. I can't tell you which one's my favorite. I like the variety. What works with these shows, and the 4 of them, is they're not cookie cutter. Supergirl's different than Flash, different than Arrow, different than Legends. And that, to me, is making this 4 great days of programming. Who would have said you're going to get like 4 hours of programming each week with your favorite superheroes done in continuity format like this, where we're going to bring in all the elements that you love in the comic books. Superman being on television is absolutely kick butt.
Oh my God, I was excited. I was jumping up and down. I liked the casting. I thought the actor 100% truly honored the man. I was very, very happy with him and just how everything played out. This has been one of those things with Supergirl that I am so thrilled on it that I'm giddy. I'm honestly, truly 100% giddy on Supergirl just because of wonderful character development. Every show has been doing a great job with character development and the supporting cast character development, I'm talking. But for me, Supergirl edges them all out. Just a slight lead. I'm going to give them a slight lead. It's kind of one of those things where, it's a 99% versus a 98%, kind of that type of variance. But there's still that slight edging because with all the variety of Supergirl characters, they're really taking their time letting them develop. Same stuff that we just were talking about Legends of Tomorrow, how they're letting the characters flesh out. So I'm loving that, but I'm really seeing that strong in Supergirl. And I was very happy that they let Jimmy Olsen. They're letting, Wynn do it. They're giving John, they introduced Megan. Come on. They're introducing her, the white Martian who pretends she's a green Martian because she's really a nice person kind of trying to make amends for the darkness. I absolutely loved it. When they first, it was neat because when they first had John walk into that bar in the Martian form, the look on her face, I'm like, oh my God, they're doing Magana. They're doing Meg. Yes. And I'm sitting there hooping and hollering. Even before she went into Martian mode, I knew they had to be doing that with her. Just the look on her face, like she's a Martian. She's got to be Meg. She's got to be. And then as they played it out and they kept it true to the comic, again, I was hooping and hollering. Guardian. Oh my God. I was so excited to Guardian. I want to see them. The one thing I want to see them tweak the costume just a little bit. I like that gold shield that's always been in the comic book. Now, they're going more tactical with the dark colors, but I think it'd be kind of neat if, as the season goes on, Wynn starts making little tweaks and little modifications and gives him a little bit more color and a little bit more flair to the costume as opposed to just the tactical black and gray.
Cadmus is in as an organization, and we saw them swipe Mon-El in the most recent episode. Parasite was in the episode. They're really doing a great job, again, of bringing a lot of the lore into the show and really embracing the rich history of DC. And Superman, I just want to go back to it again really quick. This is proof that you can make a really compelling, nice guy Superman on television. Yeah. Because that was, to me, and when Jimmy Olsen, I had zero issue with Jimmy Olsen being Guardian. If anything, I thought it was a nice nod to Jimmy Olsen's history of being Superman's pal who has taken on superhero roles of sorts in his efforts to help Clark. So I thought it was like it felt like a nice nod between the actual historical Guardian and what Grant Morrison had done with the Guardian, kind of like put them both together and made this really compelling thing with Jimmy Olsen that I thought was super cool. And that part's been a lot of fun for me.
Oh, God, yeah. And I love the scene where Wynn really calls Olsen on it saying, hey, Are you ready for it? Are you really ready for this? This is that moment. And I loved how Wynn was very serious, and that you had that, because Wynn's a comedic type of character. When you give him those serious moments, and just the greatest response ever, I've been ready for this ever since the day I learned Clark Kent was Superman. And I love just how that, that moment between these two guys who sidekicks no more. And I love that. And that was why I absolutely was hooping and hollering with Olsen being the Guardian, because again, no spoilers on that. And it was funny because when he first started doing his vigilante thing with the baseball bat, and he's wearing the ski mask and doing it, and he picks up that that metal steel plate, and it's like kind of like a shield. I was like, oh my god, are they doing Guardian? Oh yeah, Guardian! And it was those really cool, just oh my god moments where you kind of realize what they're doing with the show, what they're doing with these different characters. And I was just absolutely just, you know what, I tell you, I'm so happy with the superhero side of it, but I'm also so happy with the personal side of the story.
Yes.
This is, again, you got to have, you in a superhero TV show, you got to have those moments. You got to have those dun, 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 dun moments, but you got to have the real moments. And I tell you, Supergirl and her sister, just her and Maggie, there's just everything they did with that dynamic was absolutely wonderful. And it was one of those things when they first introduced Maggie Sawyer, when they first started introducing, you're seeing, it's one of those things where you see it coming. And you know what they're going to do with the story, but when they deliver it, it delivered with such an impact. Like what actually transpired, no surprise, to be honest with you. I thought all that, how it played out is exactly how I thought it was going to play out, but it still had an impact. It still resonated. And it was still one of those things where I was like, man, this is cool. This, and it's great, acting. It's great writing. It's just that moments of where it tugs at the heartstrings. And I love the fact that I'm getting emotional moments out of a superhero show.
You know what I really liked about it? A lot of times when you do a gay or lesbian relationship on a show, it's somehow handled differently than heterosexual relationships. They didn't do that in this case. It was given the same amount of screen time, care, and patience of delivery. They let it deliver over multiple episodes. We saw the winks and nods. And I'm talking about the same thing that they did with Jimmy Olsen and Kara, for example, last season. I thought that was really cool how that relationship developed. I thought this was given that same kind of quality and care, and to me it made it far more interesting to me because it felt very realistic. So that part to me was something that I really enjoyed the handling of it, because it made the relationship that much more believable to me, and Alex's reaction to it that much more believable to me.
Oh, big time. And I think that's, one of the main things that we've seen, on multiple TV shows where they've introduced the gay character, they've introduced, a transgender character. They've done different things and when, you get it, it's each show does things a little bit differently. And this was one of the shows I really loved how they introduced the fact that Alex, she's just now kind of realizing, and she's kind of putting two and two together and looking back at her life going, hey, this has been something that I've always been. What's going on here? And her personal dealings with it, and then dealing with her sister, then dealing with everything, how it played out. I was like, it was one of those very very realistic moments. And it's funny to say you have a very realistic moment in a TV show where you have aliens flying and where you have just all the craziness that comes in the Supergirl universe. You have these very real human moments, and I think that is something that's it's difficult to deal with when you have a Kryptonian on the screen. And I especially love the fact that Kara's when she's talking to Alex saying, hey, as we were growing up, the only secrets we ever talked about was mine. I'm sorry. We should have been, I should have been there for you. And I love the fact that she has that realization saying, growing up, there was a lot of me and not a lot of you. I'm sorry I did that. I thought that was, again, another one of those sisterly moments between the two of them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that piece. I think that was pretty much a key to me with this, and the handling of it was the fact that They did play that piece, and I thought that was really neat to see. They gave the characters the right amount of screen time. They gave the characters the right amount of screen time with others. I liked that Maggie was encouraging her to talk to her cousin, and we all wanted to see that. I liked that Kara didn't have all the answers. One of the things I really like about Supergirl, and I've always liked this about the character growing up, I read a lot of Supergirl when I was younger from flea markets and that. I've talked about that before. And some of it was the 70s and 80s stuff. Some of it was some of the older stuff. My favorite issues were the ones when you'd see her interacting with the cast and seeing her out of costume or even in costume talking with civilians and friends and things like that, because her interactions with people were very different than Superman, because Superman's always this larger than life character, right? You saw like people like Wynn's reaction to Superman when he met him. It was different. People react to him differently than they do even Supergirl. That was true in the comics as well, and I loved the distinction. I always grew up loving the distinction between the two, that she was one you could more relate to. I'm actually going to correct myself on something from our last conversation about television shows. You were talking about how much you wanted to see Batman on television. I'm looking back at these episodes, and I rewatched the Superman ones, and here's what I liked about it. Superman didn't take over Supergirl as a show. He enhanced what we know about Supergirl, then went back to his world because he needed to. I felt like Supergirl's was left better because of it. It added some validity to her and made the character sing. If they handle Batman in this fashion, they can put him on any program. And I really like this handling. So I'm going to correct myself and actually side with you on this one and kind of go, you know what? Jim's right. There's really a point to this. You could bring Batman into this world and do what you did with Superman here. Do it so well and have an impact to the world that he has touched on. So I'm actually going to take back what I said. And really it is due to the handling of Superman and all this.
Well, and here's the interesting thing, because when I saw Superman in there, I don't want to say reverse my opinion but I do want to see him, but I want to see Batman in the Supergirl universe, not in the Arrow universe, because in the Supergirl universe, if there's a Superman, I'm assuming they already have an established Batman. They haven't really mentioned Batman, but I'm assuming that he's in there. Whereas in the Arrow universe, it would be kind of one of those have to do an introduction or, it's kind of weird. I'm like, I want to see Batman, but I do want to see him in Supergirl universe. And I want to see Bruce Wayne walk into Catco, and just hang out and have nobody other than Kara know, or not even have Kara not realize that Bruce Wayne is Batman. How awesome would that be that, Kal-El kept that secret from his own cousin because it's not his to tell. That for me would be a great kind of, a story kind of little added where we as the viewer know, okay, Bruce Wayne is Batman, but Kara doesn't know that. How awesome. I think that would be something I would like to see. So I'm not reversing what I'm saying. I still want to see Batman, but I think I want to really see him in the Supergirl universe as opposed to introducing him into the Arrowverse. I want to see more characters in the Arrow. I like how they're bringing people in. I'm loving what they're doing. But for some reason, I think Batman would be a really cool fit inside that, or Bruce Wayne would be a cool fit inside the Supergirl TV show.
I'm assuming we won't see it because of Gotham.
Right.
Because I'm sure NBC's not going to want the character they currently got being used.
Oh, we won't see it. This is one of those things where I'm like, it'd be kind of neat to see. Just like I want to see the Green Lantern Corps. I so want to see the Green Lantern Corps in any of the shows. I think they would fit. It would be kind of a neat comment to make in. Well, they've already kind of made reference to it in the Flash, because the one time they were at Ferris, they were at an abandoned airstrip of Ferris Air, because they made the comment how one of their test pilots disappeared and it kind of destroyed the company. Well, that one test pilot obviously was Hal Jordan. So they kind of introduced the fact that there may be the Green Lanterns out there, which I would love to see. He's one of those characters I'm still holding out for. I'm still hoping we get a Green Lantern Corps in one of these universes, because Supergirl's already got established, extraterrestrial life. I think that would be, he could fit there, but also he could be the introduction to aliens into the Flash and Arrowverse.
Yeah. And let me actually clarify something. I'm sorry, I said NBC. I'm sorry, it's Fox that he's on, and I did a brain freeze there. So I just want to correct myself so that way people aren't, Sean, he's on. And I'm that guy. I would do the same thing. But I think because he's on Fox, I don't think we would see him in this. I would love to see him eventually on this show and you're right, Supergirl would be a great spot for him. I don't really care. It's, to me, story-driven. Superman was so good that I would love to see a story-driven Batman couple of episodes the same way they did Superman in this, which is really cool. What else would you like? Wait, there's one villain. I'm sorry. I do want to reference Roulette. Mentioning JSA, I'm a big fan of the Jeff Johns JSA run. And when Roulette was introduced, I just thought she was one of the coolest original villains created in that run. And to see her brought into television and done so well, I really felt like they captured, right down to the look, everything that I love about that villain. Her confidence and the way she carried herself, how she was one step ahead of Supergirl for so much of that episode, I thought was really great. I really loved the Underground Fight Club, how it all played out. It really made for an interesting and entertaining way to develop the characters of John and Megan and their relationship together, but also Kara and Alex and Maggie and how all that went about. I thought it was really a great way. They've done a good job this season of having villains like Metallo and things like that who made you believe there's a need for a team to fight these villains. And I think it's important when you've got characters with this power level to make us believe there's a reason and a need. That part has made the Supergirl team just really great and feel very different than the characters on the other shows. It really showcased the personalities. I can't wait to see multiple seasons of all this play out. I hope they can keep the creative writing up. I hope they keep going back to the comic book lore to keep it fresh and interesting and keep moving these characters forward because, man, has this been great television.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's funny because I'm also getting this through iTunes. Now all the TV shows I'm doing that's the season pass on iTunes and all that. And one of the extra stuff for the Supergirl was the Alien Fight Club, and they talk about they're creating Roulette, and they flat out show the pictures from the comic, and they went 100%. We're going to keep spot on in continuity with how she looks in the book. And I absolutely love the fact that, because as soon as she came in, I'm like, Roulette, they got it down. Yes. And again, it was another one of those yes moments where I'm hooping and hollering and completely agree with everything you said about just her and her usage and the fact that they bust her and she gets out. Why? Money equals power. And she's got plenty of money. She's got plenty of power. She's going to be back again. You know it's going to happen somewhere down the line. Great usage of the character. She's out. She's going to come back at another time. I thought that was something, again, and it was neat because they're talking about how that was the Survivors episode, where they're talking about each one of them being a survivor, and there's fighting in this fight club as survivors. And it was a really cool theme of that overall episode. It was a great episode where you had some really cool Fight Club moments, Alien Fight Club, yeah, that's awesome. But then you start looking at how, because that was Mon-El's origin. That was really digging into Megan. That was really digging into Kara and how she, survived and how she's dealing with it. And it was a really cool, just, again, a deep story inside some cool butt-kicking fight sequences. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I do too. And you're touching on something there. The one thing they're really doing well with the pacing on this show is giving every character a cool amount of screen time. They seem to shift between episodes and make sure they're spotlighting all of the characters that we've really enjoyed throughout the season. I would be hard-pressed to tell you what supporting cast really is on this show because they've done a great... Obviously, it's Supergirl, so, she is the central linchpin to the whole thing. But they've done such a great job of highlighting everybody. I love your idea of Guardian and him gradually over time getting the gold shield or whatever. I thought as an introduction, it worked phenomenal, and I was really into how it looked. I like that they planned for Supergirl to make sure that she wouldn't know. You're right, though. There's plans to you can take that. And I like that he was shocked that some of the equipment worked, especially in that parasite fight, which was great. He's like, wait, that really worked. That stuff was really, really cool and added the sense of a first-time team-up between heroes. Mon-El's journey in particular has been something that I've really enjoyed because they have the history of Daxam and Krypton for the purpose of the show being so much against each other. And I like how when you bring two people, it's very timely with what's going on in our world right now, right? When you bring two people together that are traditionally enemies and they learn to appreciate each other's qualities and become friends, I think it's one of the things that's nice about this show. There's a lot of positive messages going on in this thing without it being hokey. Yeah. I really like that it feels very contemporary, very current. It's not preachy. There's something to that. It's an uplifting program. That's one of the things I love about Flash. I feel I'm getting from Supergirl, but I feel it's not cookie cutter to what's going on over at Flash. And it just shows that you don't have to do all these dark programs to make it interesting. Here's the thing. We've got in this universe the darker show in Arrow. I dig that. I'm a Batman guy. I love that. So please don't take it as me saying I don't like that kind of thing. I love it. But to me, Arrow would lose what makes it special if they were all like Arrow. And I love that throughout the week, as you pace on through, you really get to see a lot of the different perspective of the world that the DC Universe really, with its rich character tapestry, can offer. And they've really got a great balance going right now. I really am hard-pressed to say what's my favorite, because my favorite thing is that this is a shared universe that is really well written with amazing acting. I mean, the casting could not be better for these shows. Is there anybody that you're like, man, why did they cast this person? I don't feel that way for anybody on these shows.
No, absolutely. This is one of those where I am 100% behind the casting. I think they did again, not across the board, all these shows. I'm not finding anybody like, I wish they could have gone somebody else. 100% backing on everything they did. And I think part of it is the writing, part of it is the acting. I think we're seeing quality, solid acting in a superhero TV show. And a lot of times, superhero shows, you think about it, or even an action-based show, you don't get the high quality. You don't get, people who actually seem like they're really good, solid actors. They really bring the emotional spectrum to it. But with this show, they're really bringing it. And I think, it's like Supergirl. I love the aw shucks that you kind of get from her. But it's not anything like if you had the wrong person doing it, it would be over the top, and I'd be like, come on, it would throw me off immediately. But with her, I'm absolutely loving the way it's played out, especially when you get those moments when, she toughens up and you see the hard edge. Yeah. You see the anger. You see that rage. I love those interactions with her and Roulette when she was really just, furious at everything going on. And as, time is just going on, as, different times when she's reacting where she's got that, just that aw shucks kind of moment, and then she's got to knuckle up and she's got to seriously put a beat down on somebody. I loved how the actress is able to go from the one extreme to the other extreme without losing either side of that character, without losing who the character is. It's, it's one of those things I'm really digging about her as Supergirl.
I agree. The casting, she's phenomenal for casting on this one. And I didn't know her as an actress before this show, but man, she does a really good job of the duality. And the duality's subtle. And I think that's what's great about Clark Kent and Superman, right? We always love the Christopher Reeve version. And I really feel like they've done a great job on this show of bringing that duality in, but modernize it, making it very today. And I like how she talked about the whole clumsy bit and stuff like that in those episodes. And made reference to it. But again, it's subtle, not in your face, and feels very modern to today. I think the Christopher Reeve movies, for their time, really did a great job of capturing that in that era. I think this was like a modern version of what really worked with that. And it really does go to show that, and for me, I kind of telegraph the idea that I'm glad the movie universe is separate from the TV universe. Yes. And I like the movies. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big fan of Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. I thought was super cool. I still love it. I really like the tone of all that. But DC Universe is chock full of Elseworlds and multiverse and that whole concept. And I wouldn't want this world to go that way. I think the Batman v Superman is exploring one type of storytelling you can do with these characters. This Superman on this show, I'm like, wow, this really is what I like about Superman. And I think it shows in what's going on with Kara. I think these shows are just benefiting from the fact that they aren't beholden to anything else that's going around. And I applaud the higher-ups that made the decision to say, you know what, the movies are doing their thing, so why can't we do it here? And let's not do it the Marvel way. And that's not me knocking the Marvel way. I love what Marvel's doing, how they've interconnected everything together. I don't think that DC's characters or these shows and movies would benefit from them trying to mimic something like that. I think they do it so well, they set their bar real high. If you're really going to do something well, this is why DC TV is succeeding right now, because they're not trying to follow that formula.
And it's funny because you say that, because I know when we first, started really talking about the TV shows, I was one of those guys like, man, I wish they did it like Marvel. I wish the TV universe was interconnected. And I've constantly said that over and over again, but I'll tell you right now, completely flip on that opinion. I love the separate. I love the fact that these are two completely different universes. And for everything you said about how they can explore a different version of Superman, they can introduce a different version of Batman in here, which we know they probably won't, but they could introduce Green Lantern. They could have their own Aquaman in here. They could, we're going to have multiple Flashes out there. So we've got our Flashes who's different than the movie version of Flash. And again, I'm not knocking any of that. I loved the movie. I really did. That Ultimate Edition was 100%. I was like, yes. I was hooping and hollering, again, wishing that would have been on the big screen. But the TV shows have such a different life to them that I don't want to see them change it. I want to see them keep this going, how it's going, how it is. This is its own universe. Let's keep it going. Let's nurture this universe. Let's develop and let this universe grow some more.
Yeah, and I'm anxious. Actually, we'll talk on an upcoming episode about Gotham to check in on that show, because it really is outside of this continuity. It'd be fun to talk about that as well and where that show's going. But I really had fun kind of catching up on these two shows. We'll do this again throughout the season. We'll do another kind of catch up and talk back on what's going on with these shows as the season goes on, just because it's fun to really visit these shows and have some fun with them.
Spinning with great speed, the Flash creates a protective vacuum around himself.
I want to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you part of the show. Please feel free to call in. We do air all voicemails, so if you call in, we will definitely get you on the show. Remind everybody our website, ragingbullets.com. I put updates up on whenever we're going to be recording. Jim and I kind of do a lot of brainstorming as far as when our schedules align that we're able to start recording. We've had a lot of, between the two of us, busy weeks where it's been very hard to find a common day to record. So I try to keep you up to date through the website and Twitter and from our Facebook page on what's going on the show. Besides the Facebook page, we also have a Facebook group. And Jeremy, all the guys over there, we share that with InfiniteComics.com. They just do such a great job of having a wonderful community. They're doing a gift exchange on there now. I'm in for that, for the Secret Santa kind of thing going on over there. They've always got something going on. They do talks during each of these television programs. People shout out different podcasts and blogs and things that they have that are associated with comics. It's a great way to network and find new content during the course of the week. So I do encourage you to join the group. Remember that Facebook groups are things where you can turn on and off notifications to your preference. You can get digests of updates. There's all kinds of ways where you can control how invasive in your life it is. So don't let that shy you away from joining this great community of people. It's a really positive, fun group that just loves the same things you do. So join over to the Facebook fan group and really appreciate all the people that are there for just making such a quality place to pop in at. We are also on Google+. I have a PlayStation Network account, so feel free to connect with us in whatever way is best for you. Mr. Segulin, we are sponsored this episode by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. What's going on over at DCBService.com?
Man, we got the bundles. 50% off various bundles, miniseries bundles, rebirth bundles, Vertigo bundles, Young Animals bundles, 45% off a variant cover edition bundle. So thank you, DCBS. Check out what they're offering. They're a really great way to save some money.
Over at InStockTrades.com, as I mentioned, that they have these 50% off deals of the week. I'm a big fan of these. They have the Coming of Superman hardcover, 50% off, only $12.49. The Flash Omnibus, 50% off, only $49.99. This is Manapul and Buccellato. Sorry for any name butchery there, because I love this run. I'm buying this. Watchmen Collector's Edition box set. This was, I think, each individual issue, if I remember correctly in this one, is hardcover. And that's a new one. It's 50% off, only $62.50. That's the nice thing about these different collector's editions. When you get them at 50% off, it makes them a lot more affordable. I love collections of my favorite stories. And I love that they're releasing them in new formats, and that InStockTrades.com has given me the opportunity to get more of them than I would have been able to get before. So thank you, DCB Service and InStockTrades.com, for being our source for deals. Jim, our next episode, we're going to come back a little bit sooner for this one. This was intended to be a much longer normal Raging Bullets episode. And as I mentioned earlier, Jim and I have had trouble finding common time to record. So because of that, we decided to, rather than delay any recording any further, we would just do a shorter one and come back sooner with another shorter show. This one's going to be all comic focused. We're going to be talking about Supergirl. We're going to be talking about Cyborg. We're going to be talking about Teen Titans and possibly more. But these are all books that we really haven't talked about since Rebirth started. So they're books that we want to focus on to continue our look at the brand new titles. Oh, I'm sorry. And then we have the Mother Panic, brand new issue 1 that we're also going to talk about. So we're going to talk about those 4 books for sure and possibly more. We will see you then.
Bye!
On November 13th, Sean Whalen was asked to stop constantly talking about comic books. That request came from his wife. Deep down, he knew she was right, but he also knew that someday he would find someone that would talk to him. With nowhere else to go, he appeared at the home of his childhood friend Jim Segulin. Sometime earlier, Segulin's boss had requested that he shut up about his comic books and never speak of them again. Can 2 grown men put out a DC Comics podcast without driving each other crazy? It's Raging Bullets, the DC Comics fan podcast. With Sean Whalen as Dr. Norge, and Jim Segulin as the Sensei of the Whatnot and the Duke of You Know. It's a spoiler podcast, so they will go in depth into the plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics they are reviewing. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you may better enjoy the show.